The 28th session of the Senate and the first regular session of the 20th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Pampilo Lacson will lead the chamber in prayer.
Heavenly Father, as we enter our Lenten break in the weeks to come, we thank and praise you for your gracious and unconditional love. We ask that you teach us how to turn our hearts back to you. Help us cleanse our sins and lead us to repentance, that we may find healing in your mercy. Grant us the strength to surrender our weaknesses. Give us the courage to defeat our fears. In the quiet of our hearts, help us repent with all humility, and the grace to follow your path each day of our lives. Empower us to live the new life that your salvation brings, a life that honors you and reflects your truth and justice, to be worthy of your kingdom in the afterlife. All these we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Roll call of members. Honorable Senator Aquino, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Hontiveros, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Ligarda, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Camil, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Subiri. The Senate President is present.
With 21 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have several guests in the gallery today. Guest of Senator Gatchalian is Mayor Nonoy de la Cruz from Don Salvador Benedicto, DSB, Negros Occidental. He's here with us. A good friend of mine. Also, guest of Senator Lapid, Benguet Mayors. Atok Benguet Mayor Franklin Smith. Itogon Mayor Bernard Waclin. Bagyas Mayor Julius Amos are here with us today. We also have guests of Senator Camille Villar, local officials from Kalayaan, Laguna, led by Mayor Sandy Laganapan. We have also guests of Senator Alan Cayetano, Council of Manila, City Councilors, Councilor Darwin Awisia, Councilor Jesus Targa Fajardo, Councilor Bobby Espiritu. We also have guests of Senator Erwin Tulfo, Mayor Abner Tesorio of Sofrino Española, Palawan, and Mayor Richard Herrera of Dumaran, Palawan. We have also guests of Senator Erwin Tulfo, delegation from the Fulbright Commission and School of Advanced International Studies of Johns Hopkins University, led by Professor Henrietta Levin. And we have also guests of the Senate, the SK Federation and Youth Development Council from the municipality of Mayoyao, Ifugao, Mr. President. All here visiting us, the Senate. And also
We welcome.
And also
Yes.
the very good, hardworking, good-looking son of Senator Amy Marcos, the Vice Governor of Ilocos Norte, is here with us.
Yes, so we welcome all our guests to the Senate this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And just for the information of our colleagues and the public, as of 2 minutes ago, 3:39, the House of Representatives has adopted Senate Bill 1982 as an amendment to House Bill 9418.
Which bill was that, Mr. President? That's the...
That forgoes
the excise tax.
that
Okay.
forgoes the BICAM.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Automatically enrolled copy will be sent to the President. All right, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, today is Wednesday. It is the last day. I'd like to give priority to our colleagues who want to deliver privileged speeches and avail of the privilege hour, Mr. President, with the permission of the body. May we recognize a distinguished colleague, no other than Senator Mark Villar.
Yes, I cannot wait to listen to the first privileged speech of Senator Mark Villar in the 20th Congress.
For this Congress.
In the 20th Congress, yes. And he's delivering it on the last day. So go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Senator Mark Villar is recognized.
Mr. President, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege to raise a public health issue that has permeated to the Philippines for a long time. Rabies. And we have a video that we'd like.
Next schedule mo na. Busy nga daw po, sayang naman daw po yung kikitain niya.
Yung kinagat siguro siya, sir, parang binaliwala niya. Wala din kasing panggastos, sir, doon eh.
Ganito ang sinapit kamakailan lang ng dalawang pasyente matapos silang tamaan ng rabies.
Nara ko dire. Ha?
Isa na rito ang 31 anyos si Janelo na isang factory worker sa Laguna. Ayon sa report, nakagat daw si Janelo ng alagang aso ng kapatid noong August 2024. Pero ang problema, isang beses lang siya nakapagpabakuna ng anti-rabies at hindi na muling nasundan pa. Ayon sa report, 9 na buwan matapos makagat ng aso, nilagnat si Janelo noong May 15 at namatay noong May 18. Samantala, napabalita rin ang pagkamatay ng 25 anyos na si Nicole nang dahil rin sa rabies. Ayon sa ina ni Nicole na si Lizelle, nitong Maso lamang daw nakagat ng aso si Nicole sa paa. Pero wala raw pinagsabihan si Nicole tungkol dito.
Tila hinang-hina ang 13 ang gulang na si Jamaica sa ospital. Kung minsan daw kasi ay hindi siya mapakali, nagpupumiglas at hirap ng huminga. 12 oras matapos isugod sa ospital, binawian siya ng buhay. Rabies encephalitis ang sanhi ng pagkasawi ni Jamaica. Sabi raw ni Jamaica, Pebrero pa siya nakagat ng aso. Nakita na raw nila noon ang sugat ni Jamaica sa paa.
Bakit kailang nagsabi ngayon lang na? Sabi niya, sorry mama, sorry ma.
Ayon sa eksperto, posibleng umabot sa 2 buwan hanggang 1 taon ang incubation period ng virus sa katawan ng isang tao bago makita ang mga sintomas nito.
Ito ay karaniwang lumalabas 30 days o 1 buwan hanggang 3 buwan pagkatapos makagat ng hayop, lalo na kung hindi nagpabakuna yung pasyente. Pero may mga mangilang-ilang kaso na umaabot ng 9 na buwan hanggang sa ang pinakamatagal ay 1 taon bago magkaroon ng sintomas ang pasyente.
Yes. As we saw in the video, one of the rabies victims, her name was Jamaica, and her loved ones joined us in yesterday's session. She succumbed to rabies 2 months after she was bitten by a stray dog as she was walking home from school. Jamaica was not able to receive immediate medical attention as she regrettably kept the accident to herself. Mr. President, in her last days, Jamaica was able to document her heartbreaking condition as she was trying to be brave throughout the whole ordeal. Mr. President, rabies virtually has a 100% fatality rate once symptoms appear. An average of 300 to 400 Filipinos die of rabies each year, while around 4 million annual bite cases are recorded annually. These numbers place the Philippines 6th amongst the countries with the highest incident of rabies. Mr. President, isa po si Jamaica sa libo-libong kabataan na naging biktima ng rabies. Isa siya sa mga 300 to 400 na Pilipinong namamatay taon-taon mula sa infection na ito. Mr. President, Jamaica is not just a statistic. She is a representation of an important public health issue. Sa katauhan ng batang si Jamaica, makikita po natin ang kahalagahan ng pagkakaroon ng accessible at sapat na tulong medikal para sa mga viral infection tulad ng rabies. This March, as we observe Rabies Awareness Month, I hope to be a voice for this cause because behind campaigns like this is a haunting and silent reality for families like that of Jamaica's, who suffered from the grim impact of this viral disease. Awareness alone is not enough. We must pursue concrete and sustained solutions to completely prevent rabies. The annual Bite Center Treatment Center at San Lazaro Hospital, the National Referral Hospital for Infectious Diseases and Tropical Medicine in the Philippines, and the same hospital where doctors desperately try to save Jamaica, has seen a daily increase in consultations from 800 per day to 3,000, putting significant strain on the workforce and vaccine supplies. For the last 5 years, we saw a continuous rise of rabies-related deaths. From 235 cases in 2020, this ballooned to around 300 last year. In 2025, about 95% of these cases involve animals that are either unvaccinated or have an unknown vaccination status. With recent reports from DOH reflected a 65, while recent reports from the DOH reflected a 65% decrease in rabies cases from January to February 2026 compared to the same period last year, we should not be complacent. While this is a promising indicator of progress, we should complement it with decisive and tangible response. In 2025, the President directed several national and local government hospitals as well as health centers to provide free anti-rabies and anti-bite vaccinations. PhilHealth has also increased its animal bite treatment package to 5,850 pesos from the previous 3,000 pesos to cover essential post-exposure prophylaxis. This package includes rabies vaccine, rabies immune globulin for immediate protection, local wound care, tetanus toxoid and anti-tetanus serum, antibiotics, and necessary medical supplies such as syringes, alcohol, and antiseptics. Mr. President, I would also like to take this privileged hour to reiterate bills that I have filed in Congress that seek to address the interrelated issues and challenges we face concerning animals. We must merge the current governmental efforts with legislative actions that institutionalize our campaign against rabies and a holistic approach towards animal care in general. First, Senate Bill number 255, or the Animal Medical Center Act. If we are truly to promote animal welfare and prevent viral diseases such as rabies, we must ensure greater access to affordable veterinary services. Currently, veterinary clinics remain scarce and are often privately owned, making them inaccessible and unaffordable to many Filipinos. As such, this bill addresses the challenge of limited access to quality veterinary healthcare services across various regions of the country by establishing veterinary clinics in every city or municipality. This would ensure that farmers, pet owners, and communities have reliable access to veterinary healthcare services. Second, we have Senate Bill number 591, or the act promoting the adoption of stray and impounded animals by providing incentives. Mr. President, there are 13.11 million stray cats and dogs in our country. Many of these animals are potential carriers of rabies and other diseases that may pose serious risks to human health. These animals are also those who are struggling to survive on the streets, with hundreds of them being euthanized monthly due to lack of space and resources. As such, this bill aims to encourage the adoption of stray and impounded animals through incentives. On a personal note, we have adopted animals from the Passion Project, and we continue to take care of a lot of these stray animals in our own home. Yung iba nasagasaan ng kotse, yung iba inabandon ng mga owners. So that's that's one of the things that we enjoy doing, is adopting stray animals. Dogs in particular. Many Filipinos consider their pets as members of their family. Some even proudly call themselves fur parents, celebrating their pet's birthday, caring for them with love, and mourning their loss, as they would any loved one. However, not all these animals experience this kind of compassion. While some live comfortably and receive proper care, others endure cruelty, neglect, abandonment. And that's why, Mr. President, we call for reinforced laws and stricter enforcement to elevate our standards for animal welfare. Mr. President, these proposed measures, together with the current efforts of the government, may provide a holistic approach towards addressing the issue of animal welfare and animal-related diseases such as rabies. Yes, rabies has a 100% fatality rate, but it is also 100% preventable. Vaccinating our pets remains our first line of defense, and it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that these are accessible, affordable, and available to every community. At the same time, pet owners share this responsibility by ensuring that their animals are properly vaccinated. In cases of exposure, immediate medical treatment after a bite or scratch can mean the difference between life or death. Preventing rabies, therefore, is not only a matter of policy. It is a shared responsibility between the government, communities, and every pet owner committed to both human and animal lives. In fact, as part of our continuing efforts to combat the spread of rabies, there will be a spay and neuter event spearheaded by the Philippine Veterinary Medical Association in partnership with the Provincial, City, and Municipal Veterinarians League of the Philippines on March 19, 2026. This is a simultaneous nationwide activity to be participated in by at least 19 localities, including a primary event at the Provincial Veterinary Office in Malolos, Bulacan. This event will be held in line with the Rabies Awareness Month and aims to highlight the vital role of animal welfare, responsible pet ownership, and mass spay and neuter initiatives in the effective control and eventual eradication of rabies. Mr. President, dear colleagues, ilang kabataan na tulad ni Jamaica pa ang babawian ng buhay dahil walang sapat na access sa agarang lunas, praktikal na kaalaman at serbisyong veterinaryo. Kung ang asong nakakagat kay Jamaica ay nabakunahan lamang, marahil ay buhay po siya ngayon. It is high time that we translate our shared commitment into concrete action, measures that will strengthen animal welfare, enhance public health protection, and ultimately prevent the loss of both human and animal lives. This is a step closer to better communal responsibility and in advancing universal humanity. By adopting conclusive policies coupled with consistent implementation, we hope to set an example to the future generations on responsible and compassionate pet ownership and purposeful, decisive governmental action reflecting a society that is pragmatic but inclusive and empathetic, even to our animal friends and family members. Thank you, Mr. President.
I can definitely relate to the privileged speech of Senator Mark Villar. For the record, and this is kind of a trivia, in 1958, you were not born yet, and most of our colleagues were not born yet. I was beaten by a dog, the dog of my father. That was 1958. In 1959, I was beaten by another dog of my father. And during those days, there were no anti-rabies, only for people, no, not for the dogs yet. So can you imagine? I had to undergo 27 injections at my back for each time that I was beaten. So 54. Every time I ride the jeep going to San Lazaro Hospital, I started crying already because that's how painful it is. And it was. And that's why I said I can relate to that. And then the anti-rabies was presented in the early 60s, if I'm not mistaken. So how many injections are needed now? If you are beaten by a dog that has probably
parang less than 10 po.
rabies. Ha? Ilan na?
Mga 5 siguro. Hindi na po 50, mga 5 lang siguro, 5 or 6.
5? 5 na lang?
Doon sa wound mismo.
And no longer in the back? Now you know why I don't have dogs for pets. Anyway, my favorite pet is a horse. Anyway, so Senator Villanueva, you recognize.
Mr. President, I was going to let you go ahead, but I think my intervention is very aligned with the Senate President. So with the permission of Senator Joel.
With the permission, go ahead, Senator Pia Cayetano.
Mr. President, I cannot top your story with being injected that many times. But I can top your story in terms of the number of people that had to also get the anti-rabies shot. When I was defending the anti-rabies bill here in the halls of the Senate in the 13th Congress, I don't know, circa 2004 to 2010, somewhere there, maybe 2008, 2009. I was a chairman of the Committee on Health, and I had in my office the WHO representatives, the Veterinarians Association, the DA, because sa kanila ka-under yon, defending the bill on the floor. That's why they were there. I was waiting for my turn. And then I got a call that my daughter was bitten by a dog. So my brother had to rush her, and the problem that we still have now, even though ang first dose is day 0, second dose is day 7, then you will receive a single dose of a booster shot. There's also a 3-dose schedule. So hindi na kasing dami. Pero syempre, it's still very traumatic. And the problem is, it's not easily available in a health center because I think it's packaged in a bulk. So thankfully, we live in Alabang. Katabi namin yung RITM. Kaya mahal na mahal ko yung RITM na yan. Meron sila doon, pero you cannot go to an average clinic and get vaccination. Anyway, that's not even the end of my story. Then nag-break, umuwi sa probinsya yung chief of staff ko. Na nandun, tinatrabaho yung biofuel bill natin. Pagdating niya doon, silang dalawa ng anak niya, nakagat din ng aso. So habang nasa probinsya siya, nag-i-injection din sila. So matindi ho talaga yung anti-rabies issue na yan. And we still have a long way to go. And at that time that I defended it, everybody was saying, ano ba naman yung bill na yan, rabies? That's not a big deal. Tapos may namatay na hapon. Kasi pagpunta niya galing siya dito, pag uwi niya ng Japan, hindi nila ma-figure out kung ano yung problema niya. Kasi wala nang rabies doon. At that time, we are only one of 5 countries that still has rabies. Baka ngayon, one of one na lang tayo. Sana pa wala na rin. I just wanted to share that, Mr. President.
Thank you. And again, Senator Mark Villar, thank you very much for your privileged speech. Senator Joel Villanueva was recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, as mentioned by Senator Pia, we cannot top your story about being beaten twice. I wonder, Mr. President, how your mom reacted to your dad having beaten twice and experiencing that much of injections, Mr. President. But anyway, Mr. President, if we can ask some questions, just 1 or 2 questions to the distinguished gentleman from Las Piñas, Senator Villar. This representation would like to state for the record that we are in full support of his privileged speech and his intention to address this big problem, Mr. President, this problem that we have been experiencing for quite a long time. In fact, Mr. President, when I was in the House of Representatives 20 plus years ago, Mr. President, we have been talking about this, and everyone would come up with a vision of a rabies-free Philippines, Mr. President. And since then, there had been like 3 or 4 administrations, Mr. President. 4 na ho na administration. And I don't know, Mr. President, nag-i-improve ba tayo? Okay ba tayo? So, Mr. President, ang tanong ko lang po, actually simple and practical question, and I think the good gentleman from Las Piñas made mention that there are about more or less 13 million stray dogs in the country. Is that the correct figure? Or do we have really a figure, Mr. President, itong mga stray dogs natin? Because how can we say, for example, every administration, Mr. President, I recall, would come up with a plan, Mr. President. Every administration, for the past 4 administrations, I remember, they are planning or coming up with something that in the year ganito, rabies-free Philippines na tayo. But I don't know, Mr. President, until now, I myself, Mr. President, I have a friend of mine na cousin niya, Mr. President, na namatay din po because of rabies. So, may I ask that question to our distinguished colleague, Mr. President?
To answer, thank you, Mr. President. To answer your question first is the numbers were given to us by the Bureau of Animal Industries of the Department of Agriculture. So those are their numbers. And at
the number is 13.
Yes, would be
13 million.
Yes. And yes, unfortunately, with regards to rabies, as the good Senator Senator Pia mentioned earlier, most countries are already rabies-free. We have not yet achieved that in the Philippines. In fact, if there's a visitor who comes here, hindi pa nila alam yung rabies dahil wala na talaga sa vocabulary nila yung rabies. But that's why I think it's really awareness. As you said earlier, it's 100% curable. So
Yes.
siguro magkaroon lang ng mas additional training and awareness, and that's part of the bill. And centers for veterinary health, I think that would be go a long way into eliminating, not just minimizing, pero sana ma-eliminate na itong rabies dahil hindi na talaga halos sa buong mundo wala nang rabies. Sa atin lang meron pa.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Mr. President. But still, Mr. President, I'm quite having some reservations when you talk about the figures. For example, the 13 million. How did you actually get the 13 million? I mean, I can see a lot of stray dogs in the streets of Metro Manila, especially in the province. I'm not going to debate or talk about the figures given to our distinguished colleague, but perhaps ask, when you talk about other countries' experiences, Mr. President, what was the turning point, Mr. President, of addressing and what would you just say, Mr. President, the reason behind the rabies-free community, Mr. President, for other countries?
Yeah, it's a comprehensive solution. This includes, one, the unavailability of vaccine. These are the factors that that affect our country, that continue to allow rabies to be an issue. One is the unavailability of the vaccines. Two is the lack of awareness of the existence of the lack of awareness, and of course, lack of responsibility for the dog owners, lack of adequate animal bite facilities, hesitancy on the possible cost of treatments, non-completion of the treatments, and non-implementation of impounding projects at the LGU level. So these are the major factors that we need to improve on in order to reach zero rabies level.
Thank you, Mr. President. One last, probably, Mr. President. Our administration, this administration, is envisioning a rabies-free Philippines. And do we have a time frame for that?
As of now,
Because again, every administration, I have heard every administration, for the past 4 administrations, rabies-free Philippines, Mr. President.
Yes, there's no, as of now, I'm not aware of any timeline. That's why I hope to bring awareness to this issue with your help also. In fact, the event is actually in Bulacan, so I think that's that's a very good start. And of course, with the creation of more centers and more awareness, we hope that we can achieve that. And maybe the government can come up with their own timeline to eventually eradicate rabies in our country.
I hope so, Mr. President. And I joined the gentleman from Las Piñas in pushing for possible reforms that we can do, maybe through budgeting also, Mr. President. Adoption, Mr. President. Believe it or not, we have adopted several puppies before, even yung mga matatanda na po na walang gustong kumuha. And unfortunately, Mr. President, even the process of adoption is kind of extra challenge, Mr. President. So I hope we can also do something about it. And please count me in as one of your allies here in the Senate, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to our distinguished colleague, Senator Mark Villar.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Jingo Estrada is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Maaari ba ho magtanong sa ating kasamahan mula sa Las Piñas? Kung maaari lang.
Yes, please.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo. Ilan na ba namamatay dahil sa rabies dito sa ating bansa?
Every year. On average, it ranges from 300 to 400.
300
Fluctuates.
to 400 deaths
Yes, per
every year.
Yes.
Because of rabies.
Yes.
Dahil lang ba ito sa kagat ng aso?
Dahil lang ba? Karamihan dogs, but animals in general, pag nakagat ka ng isang animal, dapat ang usual procedures, magpa-vaccination ka na kagad.
Okay, ano itong mga hayop na merong mga rabies? Bukod sa aso.
Well, cats also, mammals in general. But karamihan po kasi usually
Monkeys.
yung bite cases is dogs. Pero
Monkeys
posible
meron.
siguro, kailangan meron din.
Bats.
Pero very rarely. Rats,
Ano yung bats sa Tagalog?
bats.
Paniki. Mga paniki. What else?
Very rarely, siguro. Bas mammals in general, pag nakagat ka ng isang mammal, may possibility.
Saan ba nakukuha yung rabies?
Saan?
Saan ba nakukuha yun?
Saan nakukuha? Sa mammals? It's a blood. It's a bloodborne infection.
Okay, kasi uli katanungan lang. Just very curious about this. Kasi usually yung ating mga kababayan, lalo na yung masang Pilipino, minsan kumakain sila ng aso. Tama?
Yes.
Minsan niluluto nila, kinakaldereta nila. Kapag ba kumain ka ng aso na na may rabies, magkakaroon ka ba ng rabies?
Wala pang case. Wala pang known case na kasi usually naluto na yan.
Yan.
Hindi mo naman hindi mo naman kakaining live siguro. But it's more of a blood. So usually pag kinagat ka at may bleeding or may
So walang
or na-break yung skin,
scientific findings na kung kumain ka ng aso na may rabies, it does not necessarily mean na magkakaroon din yung taong kumain ng rabies.
Siguro
Na magkakaroon ng rabies.
siguro pag raw, pag kinain mo ng raw,
Hindi, wala naman siguro kakain.
wala naman siguro.
Wala naman siguro kakain ng hilaw na aso.
Wag naman
Unless
kumain
yung
ng
mga
hilaw na
primitives.
aso. Pero kung luto naman yung ayoko naman.
Meron-
I'm against
meron na ba?
I'm against dog hindi ako sangayon sa
Meron bang naitala ang Bureau of Animal Industry na meron kumakain sa mga Pilipino na hilaw na aso?
wala naman sir. Wala naman Mr. President na walang cases na wala lang akong data pero wala naman sigurong cases na yung mga taong kumakain ng raw na aso.
Ano ba yung asong mahilig kumagat? Babae o lalaki?
Wala po tayong statistics kung anong mas sorry Mr. President, we have no statistics but we can look for
This was just a phone-in question. Anyway, maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Where are you? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Madam President, we'd like to refer the speech of the good gentleman from Las Piñas to the Committee on Health and Demography. So move, Mr. President.
So referred.
And before I take up another matter, I just want to
I
congratulate
see
him.
Senator Kiko Pangilinan.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, what is the pleasure?
No, just to refer it likewise secondarily to the Committee on Agriculture.
Yeah, no objections.
So
Madam
referred secondarily to the Committee on Agriculture.
And may I just like to commend Senator Mark Villar. In our province of Bukidnon, we have a lot of rabies cases there. It's really a problem. As a matter of fact, in my sheep farm, this is a true story, I can actually show the pictures. In Bukidnon, there were 3 rabid dogs that attacked our sheep. They killed about 47 of our sheep. And if you see it, kinagat talaga yung tiyan and all that. It's horrible. I thought it was, kala ko baka aswang eh. And then may nabaril ng isang security guard yung isang aso. So it was rabid dogs in packs. And that's what happens in the rural areas. So yes, we need to vaccinate the dogs, at the same time have the medicines like Verorab available for everyone to use and avail. So thank you, Senator Mark Villar, for that very important and timely speech. As a matter of fact, my son, Wanmi and Santi are both users of Verorab. Because nga, when nung puppy pa yung aming aso na si Snowy, mahilig mag-nip, and he would nip my sons. So out of just pure security, safety reasons, although the dog has been vaccinated, we still had them have them get the shots. Kasi delikado nga po, you saw what happened. 100% mortality rate. If I'm not mistaken, alam ni Senator Soto ito, yung tatay daw ni Fernando Po Jr., Fernando Po Sr. had actually died from rabies as well. Dahil pinalik niya yung sugat niya sa aso. And this is a true story. It's actually, you can Google it. And he died because of rabies. So yes, this is a very, very dangerous disease, Madam President. So I thank Senator Villar for putting it back in our consciousness. If our good presiding officer is ready to give the speech, if not, can I allow Senator Pia Cayetano first to deliver her privileged speech, and then we can recognize the good lady.
Yes, I'm no longer delivering a privileged speech. So
Okay.
please proceed with the agenda. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Madam President, may we recognize our distinguished colleague from Taguig and Pateros to also avail of the privilege hour. May we recognize Senator Pia Cayetano.
We recognize Senator Pia Cayetano.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam President, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. This coming Sunday is not just my birthday, it is World Water Day. So every year I have to stand up and celebrate World Water Day, which is more important than my birthday. This is a day dedicated to the importance of fresh water and advocating for sustainable management of freshwater resources. This year's UNESCO theme is very close to my heart. It is water and gender. Where water flows, equality grows. This raises global awareness of fresh water and sanitation challenges. The theme reaffirms that access to safe drinking water and sanitation are fundamental rights and critical enablers of gender equality, directly contributing to sustainable development goals, particularly SDG 5 on gender equality and SDG 6 on clean water and sanitation. Access to safe, affordable, and reliable water is a basic human right and the foundation of health, education, livelihood, and climate resilience. Yet around the world, women and girls still spend hours every day collecting water. This means time taken from them that should have been spent in school, at work, or caring for themselves. The observance also marks the launch of the United Nations World Water Development Report 2025, which calls for transformative action on a water crisis that continues to disproportionately burden women and girls. Key highlights of the report include: only 71% of the global population has access to safely managed drinking water, leaving 2.2 billion people without reliable access. The situation concerning sanitation is worse. 3.5 billion people worldwide lack access to safely managed sanitation, such as septic systems where waste is safely disposed of. Women and girls are disproportionately affected in rural and mountain areas. In the Philippines, we are a water-rich archipelago, but being water-rich does not automatically mean we are water-secure. A 2026 Philippine Institute for Development Studies report highlight that while national access to safe water has reached about 87.7%, 12.4 million Filipinos still lack reliable and safely managed water. The report also stated that fewer than half of the Filipino household have piped water connections at home, while over 300 municipalities are still classified as waterless, with more than half of the residents lacking reliable supply. They often rely on distant shared sources like public wells or springs. Across 532 water districts, annual demand now exceeds effective supply by an average of 3.6 million cubic meters. This is a structural deficit that threatens both public health and economic growth. Behind these numbers are women and girls. In many rural and marginalized communities, it is still the mother, the daughter, the lola who walks farthest, waits the longest to fetch water, and often the last to drink when supplies run low. Women manage water in the household, but they are underrepresented in water governance, from barangay water councils to utility boards, which means their lived experience rarely shapes decisions on water allocation, pricing, or infrastructure. Mr. President, let's look at the numbers. The water crisis hits our most vulnerable hardest. Data from the DepEd reveals that 3,628 schools lack regular water sources, while over 8,000 rely on rainwater. Only 61% of schools nationwide have access to clean water, leaving millions of students vulnerable to dehydration and disease during class hours. On sanitation, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority Annual Poverty Indicator Survey, 84.7% of households had access to improved sanitation in 2024, up from 84% in 2022. Geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. The disparity is more evident in these areas. According to the 2026 PIDS study, 12.4 million Filipinos lack safe drinking water access. On health, the consequences are fatal. Diarrhea is the second leading cause of death in children under 5, responsible for approximately 480,000 to 525,000 deaths annually. It causes roughly 9% of all child deaths in this age group, with about 1.7 billion cases occurring yearly, mainly driven by the contaminated water, poor sanitation, and malnutrition. And on women, finally, we look at the burden on women. In 2025, the UNICEF and WHO reported 1 in 4 globally lack safe water, with women and girls fetching it in 7 out of 10 households without on-premise supply, spending 200 million hours daily worldwide. And in Philippine rural areas, women travel 2 to 3 hours daily to river or springs during scarcity, risking assault and foregoing education or work. Our recommendations. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now facing an energy and a fuel crisis because of the ongoing conflict. But let us not wait for a water crisis. The time to act is now. The time to prepare for a situation which will draw out all our resources, which will require us to act swiftly, can be navigated if we plan carefully. There are many things we can do, Mr. President. In the 20th Congress, I filed Senate Bill number 348, also known as the Water Sustainability Act. This bill establishes the Philippine Water Sustainability Framework, which shall be used by the relevant agencies to ensure that Filipinos will always have safe and clean sources of water and guarantee the availability of these resources for future generations through responsible and sustainable management. I would also like to highlight the Philippine Institute for Development Studies' proposal to create 3 separate bodies to regulate water to help address weak enforcement powers and regulatory overlaps. PIDS backs the creation of the Department of Water Resources for water resource planning and policy, the Water Resources Allocation Office for water rights allocation and adjudication, and the Water Regulatory Commission for economic regulation of water utilities. This separation reflects international best practices where policy making, resource allocation, and economic regulations are handled by separate institutions according to PIDS. We also recommend the launch of a national water literacy and hygiene program campaign targeting schools and workplaces to institutionalize water management and sanitation as a universal civic duty, while specifically debunking the myth of water labor as a female-only task by encouraging men and boys to share the domestic burden of water collection. To meet 2030 targets for WASH, water, sanitation, and hygiene in schools, the UN recommends doubling current investment and construction speeds. Moreover, the UN specifically recommends promoting the inclusion of women, youth, and indigenous communities in how water resources are governed. The ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation discussion emphasized that fostering water diplomacy through ASEAN's cooperative approach can prevent tensions over shared resources, strengthen regional water security, and engage diverse actors beyond state-level discussion. In conclusion, Mr. President and colleagues, water security is not only an infrastructure challenge, it is the foundation of human dignity, public health, and gender equality. Ensuring that clean, affordable, and reliable water flows to every household is more than just a target. It is an act of intergenerational fairness and justice. It is for the women who have carried its burden for too long, for communities who historically are overlooked, and for the generation who will inherit the rivers and coast we protect today. We must act now and work together with our national agencies, LGUs, and water districts to turn these targets into reality for every family. Thank you, Madam President.
Much, Senator Pia Cayetano. I would like to associate myself with the views on water and sustainability by the good Senator, Chairman of the SDG Committee, and wish her an advance happy birthday on World Water Day. I hope she's listening so she can hear the early birthday greetings. In the meantime, we recognize Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, the Acting Majority Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. And likewise, I would like to greet our good senator an advance happy birthday. So with that, I move to refer the privileged speech of Senator Pia Cayetano to the Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking. I so move, Ms. President.
So referred to the SDG Committee.
I move to suspend session, Ms.
Session is
Madam
suspended.
President.
you. Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration Senate Bill number 1966 under Committee Report number 46. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of Senate Bill 1966 is hereby.
This is an act institutionalizing the ICE, Mr. President. And may we recognize the sponsor, Senator Erwin Tulfo, for the period of amendments. May we open the period of amendments, Mr. President.
Senator Erwin Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Floor Leader. Mr. President, may I introduce my individual amendments to Senate Bill number 1966, to wit, Amendment number 1 on page 2, line 8, before the conjunction and insert the phrase persons of concern, such as asylum seekers, stateless persons, and refugees. I so move, Mr. President.
An objection? Hearing none, approved.
Amendment number 2 on page 4, line 6, between the words existing and customary, insert the phrase religious and. I so move, Mr. President.
An objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Amendment number 3, still on page 5, lines 12 to 16. Delete the phrase which shall cover hospitalization expenses, professional fees, cost of medicines, and other medical treatment or procedures such as implants, common laboratory tests, and diagnostic imaging procedures for any illness or ailment, including postpartum complications and provisions of assistive technology devices, and in lieu thereof, insert the phrase to pay for hospitalization expenses, other medical treatments or procedures, which includes complicated birthing procedures or high-risk pregnancies, as well as professional fees, purchase of medicines and assistive technology device, goods or other services prescribed by the physician of a health facility. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
And lastly, amendment number 4 is still on page 5, lines 16 and 17. Delete the sentence, a qualified beneficiary may be given assistance based on a hospital bill only once. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, amendment is approved.
Those are my individual amendments, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
No more amendments, what? No more amendments? Are there any more amendments?
Mr. Majority Floor Leader, may we just suspend, because I believe Senator Lauren Legarda will have a few amendments on this assistance for individual in crisis.
If she's ready, if the good lady senator is ready, we can already take it up now as individual amendments, Mr. President.
Senator Lauren Legarda is recognized to introduce her amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the indulgence of the good sponsor, I would like to propose the following amendments. 1, on clarifying that medical assistance under AIX is supplemental or augmentative, assuming that is the correct nomenclature to existing health assistance mechanisms. On page 5, lines 12 to 18, Section 4I, after the sentence ending with the purchase of vitamins and aftercare shall not be covered, insert a new sentence to read as follows. Section 4, definition of terms. Medical assistance refers to a qualified beneficiary may be given assistance based on a hospital bill only once. Other health care expenses such as immunization, birthing, and purchase of vitamins and aftercare shall not be covered. Medical assistance under this act shall be supplemental or augmentative in character and may be availed of when existing health financing, assistance, or benefit mechanisms, including those under Republic Act 11223 or the Universal Health Care Act, PhilHealth, Malasakit Centers, the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, or other similar programs, are unavailable, insufficient, delayed, or do not fully address the immediate crisis of the qualified beneficiary. I submit, Mr. President.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just to
Subject to
put-
style.
Yes, thank you. And just to kindly put on record the rationale behind the amendment, and I thank the good sponsor for accepting it. The bill properly characterizes AIX as a stopgap measure, but its definition of medical assistance remains broad enough to overlap with PhilHealth, UHC benefits, malasakit centers, PCSO, and other medical assistance mechanisms. Because without a clarifying clause, there is a high risk of duplication or inconsistent implementation, and beneficiaries being referred from one program to another without timely relief. This amendment, therefore, is necessary to make it clear that AIX medical assistance is supplemental or augmentative. Thank you, Mr. President.
Noted.
There's
Is there an
another-
objection? Hearing none, amendment is approved.
On clarifying the boundary between legitimate LGU coordination and prohibited interference or political involvement. On page 8, lines 9 to 24, and page 8, lines 1 to 6, section 9B, after the phrase during extreme emergencies and disasters, please insert a proviso to read as follows. Section 9, modes of delivery services. D, transfer and prepositioning of material assistance to LGUs and national government agencies, NGAs, when necessary for timely and efficient delivery of assistance during extreme emergencies and disasters, provided that the participation of LGUs or NGAs under this paragraph shall be limited to logistical, warehousing, transport, venue, crowd management, or other similar non-discretionary support necessary for the timely delivery of assistance, and that LGUs or their officials, employees, representatives, or agents shall not determine eligibility, influence beneficiary selection, control the release or distribution of assistance, require endorsements, or attach names, images, branding, or political presence to any activity under this act. The succeeding provisos may be revised subject to style.
What does the sponsor
Mr.
say?
President.
We accept, Mr. President.
Thank you. I thank the sponsor.
Any
Again,
objection? Hearing none, amendment is approved.
just to put on record the rationale, and I thank the good sponsor for his acceptance, this amendment is necessary to make clear that LGU or NGA participation under Section 9D is limited to non-discretionary logistical support, does not include any role in eligibility determination, beneficiary selection, release of assistance, endorsement, or political branding. Third, on narrowing the real-time data sharing provision and providing express data privacy safeguards. On page 9, lines 16 to 18, section 10, after the sentence ending with a mechanism for real-time data sharing between DSWD and the LGU shall be institutionalized, please insert a new sentence to read as follows. Section 10, Integrated Program Delivery System. In keeping with the principle of equitable access and ensuring that access to the AIX program is maximized, a mechanism for real-time data sharing between the DSWD and the LGUs shall be institutionalized. Such data sharing shall be limited to information necessary for the verification of the identity of qualified beneficiaries, prevention of duplication or fraud, augmentation of assistance, and referral coordination, subject to appropriate access controls, data minimization, audit trails, and retention and deletion rules in accordance with applicable data privacy and security laws, rules, and regulations. I submit, Mr. President.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. President.
Thank
Any
you.
objection? Hearing none, amendment is approved.
I thank the good sponsor for his gracious response. Let me just cite the rationale behind the amendment. As drafted, the bill institutionalizes real-time data sharing and allows interagency sharing from a centralized database but does not specify the permissible purposes, the limits of access, or the safeguards governing use, retention, and disclosure of beneficiary data. The amendment is necessary to ensure that data sharing is narrowly tailored to legitimate program purposes and supported by clear privacy safeguards. Allow me, Mr. President, to congratulate the sponsor, former Secretary of the Social Welfare Department, for institutionalizing this important government program, and I join him in the passage of this measure and congratulate him as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Legarda. Majority Leader.
Suspend.
Mr. President, there's no more senator who will be amending, so I move to suspend the bill that being discussed. Suspend consideration of the measure.
Consideration of Senate Bill 966 is in order. An objection? Hearing none, so suspended.
1 minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session is suspended.
President, I move to consider Senate Bill number 1981 under Committee Report number 47. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, Senate Bill number 1981 under Committee Report number 47 is in order.
And Mr. President, we are in the period of individual amendments. I move to recognize Senator Bamakino as the sponsor of the measure.
Senator Bamakino is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, these are the individual amendments of Senator Ontiveros. Therefore, let me read them into the record and ask for support. Firstly, on page 7, after line 3, insert a new subsection 6 to be read as follows. 6. The teacher's salary subsidy shall not be used to diminish, offset, or substitute for existing wage obligations, including benefits negotiated under collective bargaining agreements. So moved, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, amendment is approved.
Secondly, Mr. President, on page 7, after line 6, insert a new paragraph to be read as follows. Provided that teachers shall have the right to be informed of the assistance extended to them and to participate in the monitoring and verification of the various assistance under this Act. So moved, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, amendment is approved.
On page 9, after line 26, insert a new paragraph to be read as follows. Provided, however, that in cases where the government has failed to reimburse or has only partially reimbursed voucher payments due to a participating private school for a given school year, such school shall have the right to discontinue its participation in the voucher program in the immediately succeeding school year upon due notice to the department and affected students and parents or guardians without prejudice to the completion of obligations for the current school year. So moved, Mr. President.
An objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Lastly, Mr. President, on page 10, after line 4, insert a new paragraph to be read as follows. Any public officer or employee who, in collusion with any participating school, its officers or personnel, or any individual, commits any of the foregoing acts shall be subject to the same penalties prescribed for participating schools and the responsible officers under this Act, without prejudice to prosecution and the imposition of additional penalties under Republic Act number 3019 or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. So moved, Mr. President.
An objection? Hearing none, amendments approved.
Mr. President, these are all the amendments of Senator Intiveros, and with the Majority Leader's permission, I move to close the period of amendments, Mr. President.
There's a motion to close the period of amendment.
Yes, Mr.
An
President.
objection? Hearing none.
With that, Mr. President, we move to close the period of amendments.
An objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, there being no other members. So we move to approve on second reading Senate Bill number 1981 under Committee Report number 47, Mr. President. So
Is there an objection? Hearing none. Senate Bill 1981 under Committee Report number 47 is approved on second reading.
thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration.
Senator Bamakino is recognized.
Yes, Mr. President, I just want to thank our colleagues for the support for this bill, especially Senator Gatchalian, who passed this bill in a previous Congress and who also raised it in plenary a few weeks ago. This will definitely help our students, Mr. President. It will help in the decongestion, in the access, and support for our students who are also in the private schools and in the public schools as well. Maraming salamat, Mr. President.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd just like to recognize, I move to suspend consideration of the measure. So it's suspended. Mr. President, I'd like to also recognize our good friend, my good friend from Madrid, Surigao del Sur, Mayor Paulo Lopez is here with us today. And I believe their SK chairman.
Welcome to the Senate, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration on Senate Bill number 1894 under Committee Report number 31. Or may I ask for minute suspension rather, Mr. President?
Session suspended.
recognize the sponsor of Senate Bill number 1894, no other than Senator Lauren Legarda, to propose the resolutions, both committee and a few individual amendments.
Senator Lauren Legarda is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. In accordance with Rule 29, Section 82, Paragraph 2 of the Rules of the Senate, this representation seeks to amend by substitution Senate Bill 1894 under Committee Report 31. These amendments are aimed to clarify that CHED and TESDA are the implementing agencies of the measure, allowing both to create plantilla positions as may be necessary, with the UNIFAST board serving as policy setter, and in collaboration with Senator Ontiveros, establish a grievance mechanism, creating grievance committees within CHED and TESDA to investigate and resolve complaints from learners, and as well in collaboration with Senator Ontiveros, institute a deficiency safeguard to ensure that any funding gap in the implementation of the free higher education and the tertiary education subsidy or test is covered in the succeeding General Appropriations Act, or GAA. With that, Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to amend the bill by deleting the entire text thereof after the enacting clause and replacing the same with the provisions contained in the proposed amendment in the nature of a substitute as filed with the Legislative Bills and Index Service and earlier distributed via email to the offices of the senators. I move that the text thereof be considered as read into the record.
In objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will await now the amendments.
May I just ask for quick suspension, Mr. President?
Session is suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we, with the permission of the body, we proceed to the individual amendments. This is a substitution, amendment by substitution. But with the permission of the body, we can proceed to the other amendments that are proposed by our colleagues, and then we can suspend consideration of the measure for them to study the clean copy.
Yes.
So may we proceed with the individual amendments and recognize Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, Mr. President.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is recognized.
Yes. There are no objections earlier, Mr. President, on the amendments by substitution. For the record, you can bang the gavel, Mr. President, that there's no objections to the
Yes,
amendments.
and for the record, Mr. President, this was filed with the Bills and Index. It was emailed to our colleagues in due time, and we accept this already incorporated the Ontiveros amendments in the bill by substitution, and now using the bill as in substituted bill as the working draft, we will accept the Gatchalian amendments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we recognize Senator Gatchalian for his amendments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on page 5, line 6, insert the words as start of the sentence of the new section 5A without prejudice to the standards imposed for admission and I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, approved.
On page 6, line 14, after the word DSWD, insert the words pursuant to RA 11315 or the Community-Based Monitoring System Act. I so move, Mr. President.
We accept, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, approved.
On page 6, line 15, after the word upon, insert the word passing. I so move, Mr. President.
We accept, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
On the same page, on line 25, delete the word documentary. I so move, Mr. President.
We accept.
An objection? Hearing none, amendment is approved.
On page 8, delete lines 8 to 20 and insert the following paragraph. Qualified beneficiaries who are granted TES shall continue to receive TES for the remaining prescribed duration of their program, provided that, subject to compliance with the eligibility requirements set forth in this Act, an extension of up to 1 additional year may be granted only upon a showing of justifiable and documented circumstances resulting in delay in program completion, including but not limited to academic difficulties, health-related conditions, force majeure, or other valid cases as may be determined by the UNIFAS Board, provided further that the grant of such extension shall be subject to evaluation and approval by the UNIFAS Board in accordance with guidelines to be issued for this purpose. I so move, Mr. President.
What does its sponsor
We
say?
accept, Mr. President.
On page 11, starting
Teka
from...
muna, motion is approved.
Sorry, Mr. President. On page 11, starting from line 13, delete the entire clause starting from the word "and" until the word "programs" in line 19. The new paragraph shall now read as follows. E. Formulate and issue the policies and minimum standards for monitoring and evaluating of academic progress and retention rates of the TES grantees. I so move, Mr. President.
An objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
On the same page 11, line 24, after the semicolon, insert the word "and." I so move, Mr. President.
An objection? Hearing none, amendment is approved.
And lastly, Mr. President, on page 11, delete the lines 25 up to lines 12 of the next page or paragraph G. I so move, Mr. President.
We
An
accept,
objection?
Mr.
Hearing none, approved.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Thank you
Senator
to the
Sherwin.
sponsor.
Thank you very much to the good sponsor, to the good Chairman of Finance for enhancing the substitute measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, allow our colleagues to study the clean copy of all the amendments. I move that we suspend consideration of the same.
An objection? Hearing none. Senate Bill 1894, under committee report number 31, is suspended.
Mr. President, I move to transfer from the calendar ordinary business to special order Senate Bill number 1990 under committee report number 52.
An objection? Ayun, 1990.
1990.
Yeah. 1990. Consideration of Senate Bill 1990 under Committee Report number 52 is transferred to special order.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. May we move to consider Senate Bill 1990 and ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
The Secretary is directed to read the title of the measure.
An act ensuring the development, promotion, and protection of agricultural and fisheries cooperatives, providing for the creation of the Bureau of Agricultural and Fisheries Cooperatives, and appropriating funds therefore.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize to sponsor the measure no other than our distinguished colleague, Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I stand here to sponsor Senate Bill 1990 under Committee Report number 52 in substitution of Senate Bills 389 of Senator Risa Ontiveros and 1183 of this representation. Tawagin natin itong panukalang batas ng Agriculture and Fisheries Cooperatives Act. Before I proceed, Mr. President, allow me to inform the body that this representation is a shareholder of a small vegetable family farm corporation in Alfonso, Cavite. And although this measure pertains not to farm corporations but to cooperatives, this representation has decided to err on the side of full disclosure as provided for in Article 6, Section 12 of the Constitution. In this connection, Mr. President, may I also request that the letter I forwarded to the Senate President on this matter of full disclosure be considered as, we will submit it, Mr. President, and it be considered as being read into the record. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this measure, panukalang batas para sa Agriculture and Fisheries Cooperatives Act, nag-uumpisa po ito from a simple but transformative premise. Kung gusto nating ayusin ang ating sistema ng pagkain, kung gusto nating sapat at masustansya ang nasa lahat ng hapagkainang Pilipino, sabi nga po nila, to secure our food, we must first secure our farmers and fisherfolk. At para ma-secure ang kanilang kagalingan at kahusayan, kailangan nating maorganisa at mapalakas ang mga magsasaka at mangingisda, lalo na ang kanilang kabuhayan at sa bayanihan na natural lamang na dumadaloy sa ating dugong Pilipino. Tulad sa paghahanda ng palayan, lilinangin natin ang ecosystems ng pagsasaka at pangingisda. The bill builds a full ecosystem in which agriculture and fisheries co-ops can finally deliver on the promise of a strong, empowered army of food soldiers. Let me share 3 features of the bill that seeks to realize our dream for the Philippines to become a food powerhouse. First, the bill brings our legal framework in step with today's value chains, kasama ang mga sumusunod na definisyon ng agri and fisheries co-ops, farmers, fisherfolk, agrarian reform beneficiaries, dairy and community forestry farmers, aquaculture producers at lahat ng kaugnay na sektor. Kasama na ang multipurpose co-ops na pagkain ang pangunahing negosyo. Lahat na nasa value chain, katuwang rin inputs, production, processing, logistics at marketing, pati savings at credit, farm education, agri-tourism, digital agriculture, and climate-resilient safety nets. Dapat mayorya o at least 51% ng mga kasapi ng mga co-op ay nakatala sa registry system for basic sectors in agriculture. Pangalawa, Senate Bill 1990 directly strengthens the financial position of these co-ops and by extension their members. Kapag nakarehistro ang agri at fisheries co-ops, may malinaw na mga tax incentive na nakakatulong sa kanilang paglago. Kabilang na ang exemption sa income tax at VAT, lalo na sa mga transaksyon sa pagitan ng mga membro o kapwa agri-fisheries co-ops na may kinalaman sa sariling produkto o ani. Exempt din sila sa gift at donation taxes, maging sila man ang nagbibigay o tumatanggap, at pati ang importation ng makinarya at iba pang kagamitan para sa produksyon ay hindi pinapatawan ng buwis. Dagdag dito, mayroong tax-deductible donations para sa ating mga farmers and fisherfolk co-op. Kapag piso ang dinonate ng personal o real property sa ating mga accredited farmers at fisherfolk, maaring mabawasan sa income tax ng donor yung 1 peso and 50 centavos. This way, dadaloy ang kapital, ang pondo, ang infrastruktura, mechanization by way of donations, tax-deductible donations sa ating mga farmers at fisherfolk organizations, co-ops. Layunin ng panukala na hikayatin ang pagbuo ng mga federasyon ng mga agri-fishers co-ops. Sandaling magsimula ang inisyatiba, tutulong ang DA at CDA sa pamamagitan ng patnubay sa polisiya at superbisyon upang matiyak ang maayos na pagtatatag nito. Tahasang sinama na rin natin sa panukala ang direktang pagbili ng pamalaan. Ito ang ating Sagip Saka Act. Dinagdag din natin government banks and financial institutions must also extend preferential treatments to loans for agri and fisheries co-ops. Makikipag-ugnayan ang departamento sa Bangko Sentral ng Agrikultura sa Bangko Sentral para mas madali ang requirements ng pangungutang para sa kapital, post-harvest facilities at iba pa. Gusto nating na madali ang access to finance, to credit ng ating organized co-ops. Third and crucially, the bill creates the mechanism to plan, monitor, and measure success, not in vague terms but in metrics. Senate Bill 1990 re-establishes a Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Co-ops under the Department of Agriculture. The Bureau will coordinate and implement agri-co-op programs, promote digital platforms, provide technical assistance, and set up local development hubs that can link 500 to 1,000 farmers and buyers and processors. Sa loob ng isang taon, dapat matapos na ng Bureau ang nationwide sustainability mapping. Ito namang mapping ang gagamitin para sa paggawa ng 10-year agri and fisheries co-op development at ng food security master plan. Ang pangunahing policy at planning body ay isang council that is chaired by the Secretary of Agriculture with the Cooperative Development Authority chairperson as vice chair of the council. And the council shall report to Congress every year. Mr. President, at its core, this measure is about putting structure and capital behind something we Filipinos have always had. Hindi lamang po sipag at tiyaga, diskarte at bayanihan. Sa isang banda, imbitasyon ito sa ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda na magbuklod-buklod bilang kooperatiba at pangako rin ito ng Estado na bibigyang gantimpala ang ganitong pagbubuklod. Maikling kwento lang, Mr. President, nakilala ko ang San Nicolas Rice Farmers Association mula sa San Simon, Pampanga noong 2022. Isa silang Rice Farmers Association. Nung nakipag-usap tayo sa kanila, nung tayo'y nasa pribadong sektor, gumawa tayo ng paraan na makipag-ugnayan sila sa isang milling company na handang i-mill ang kanilang palay ng libre at sila na rin po ang magpapackage. Ngunit ang sagot sa akin nung asosasyon, bilhin na lang daw ang kanilang palay ng mas mataas ang presyo. Dahil daw, hindi naman daw nila kayang ibenta at hindi nila alam paanong ibenta ang bigas. Kapag bigas sana ang ibebenta nila, dodoble na sana ang kita nila. Pero dahil nga walang kapasidad ang kanilang asosasyon, sila'y nananatiling kapos hanggang palay na lamang ang binibenta. Kung merong Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Cooperative na tututok sa kanilang kapasidad, hindi na sana ganun ang mangyayari sa ating mga magsasaka. We would also, Mr. President, sa isang banda, imbitasyon ito sa ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda na magbuklod-buklod bilang kooperatiba. At pangako rin ito ng Estado bibigyan nga sila, nagbanggit ko kanina, ng ganitong pagbubuklod. We would like to thank Senators Risa Ontiveros for filing a similar measure, for Senators Erwin and Rafi Tulfo, Bam Aquino, Senator J.V. Ejercito for their participation during the hearings, and to all senators who signed Committee Report number 52, and we seek their support for this immediate passage. In closing, Mr. President, together with the other measure which I will be sponsoring after this measure, Mr. President, we had sat down with President Marcos Jr. 2 weeks ago. We presented this measure as well as the succeeding measure that we are to sponsor, and requested that he certify this as urgent. At the proper time, Mr. President, and he has agreed in principle to do so. These two measures will hopefully address the gaps in the structure of agriculture and fisheries governance in the country, and therefore address the urgent need to fix what's broken in our agriculture and fisheries sector. Maraming salamat at we again urge our colleagues for swift passage of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kiko, Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, for the record, also Senator Legarda would like to insert her co-sponsorship speech for the record, for this measure.
Yeah, an objection, hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of the same to allow our colleagues to study the measure.
Consideration of Senate Bill 1990 under Committee Report number 52 is hereby suspended.
Mr. President, I move to transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to special order Senate Bill number 1991 under Committee Report number 53. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
Mr. President, I move that we take up Senate Bill number 1991 and ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
Secretary is hereby directed to read the title of the measure.
An act strengthening the national agriculture and fisheries extension system to accelerate agricultural and fisheries development, creating the Bureau of Agricultural Extension and appropriating funds therefore.
Mr. President, may we recognize the sponsor, once again, Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan, to sponsor the measure.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I stand here to sponsor Senate Bill 1991 under Committee Report number 53 in substitution of this representation, Senate Bill 1182. Mr. President, maikling kwento lang tungkol sa panukalang batas na ito at committee report. Nung ako po ay bumaba sa pwesto noong 2022, ay naging full-time po ako sa aming farm corporation sa Alfonso, Cavite. Sinubukan ko pong i-organisa ang tinatawag na Alfonso Farmers Cluster Group, 300 farmers, vegetable and fruit farmers sa Alfonso, Cavite. Every week, for about 1 year, Mr. President, nagpupulong kami, pinupuntahan ko sila sa kanilang mga sakahan, sa kanilang mga bukid. After 1 year, Mr. President, in fairness, ang Department of Agriculture Region 4A, ang Agriculture and Training Institute, ang Alfonso Municipal Agriculture Office, nagtulong-tulong kami. My farm became the host of a 14-week farm field school. Every week, for 14 weeks, pumupunta ang about 60 farmers sa Alfonso, Cavite para mag-aral ng organic vegetable farming. Matapos ang 14 na linggo, nagbanding na kami ng husto. Talagang kasabay nating kumain, mayroon pa kaming nag-Christmas party, may graduation pa. At in fairness, naroon ang ATI nung 14 na linggo. Nandoon ang DA Region 4. Nandun din ang Maro. Pero natapos yung 14 weeks, nais nang mag-organisa yung 57 na mga farmers, bumalik na sa 13 Martires ang ATI, bumalik na sa Lipa ang Region 4A, at nung hiningi natin kay Mayor Randy, salamat at ng Maro, ang isang tao lamang para tulungan kaming mag-organisa sa LGU, ang nabanggit sa akin ng LGU. 7 lamang ang kanilang empleyado ng agriculture office ng local government hindi makapagbigay ng kahit isang dedicated staff para maorganisa ang 57 willing farmers. Yan po ang nangyayari sa iba't ibang parte ng ating bansa dahil kulang ang presensya ng Department of Agriculture sa grassroots. Kaya po itong an act strengthening the National Agriculture and Fisheries Extension System to accelerate agriculture and fisheries development and appropriating funds therefore seeks to address precisely that serious and wide gap in terms of governance, agriculture governance sa bansa. Kulang na kulang ang staff, kulang na kulang, napakalayo ng tanggapan sa amin sa Region 4A. Ako'y nasa Alfonso, Cavite, nasa Lipa. 2 oras kalahati, papunta pa lamang, 2 oras kalahati, pabalik. Kaya po, hindi po kaya harapin yung araw-araw na mga pangangailangan ng suporta ng ating mga magsasaka. Mabibilang ang mga expert para sa palay, mais, baboy, gulay, manok, isda, high-value crops. At sila rin ang gumagawa ng lahat ng mga report, itong ating mga extension workers sa regional. At sasagot sa lahat ng mga tanong, madalas galing pa sa sariling bulsa ng ating mga extension workers ang kanilang pamasahe, pagkain tuwing sila ay bibisita sa bukid o sa baybay dagat. Sa ganitong sitwasyon, malinaw na hindi sapat ang disenyo ng ating extension work, kaya't kailangan itong baguhin. Kaya sa ating panukalang batas, tinatransform natin ang Agriculture Training Institute para maging Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Extension Services na may plantilla positions mula sa national office hanggang sa regional, hanggang provincial at municipal levels. Ia-absorb ng nasabing bureau ang LGU employees ng agriculture at ang sweldo nila ay manggagaling sa national government. Magiging provincial level ang extension workers offices at bureau ng Department of Agriculture. Itinataas ang entry pay para sa technical agri at fisheries extension workers, may hazard pay, subsistence allowance, longevity pay, mobility support. In short, ang mensahe natin sa extension workers ay simple, ngunit makapangyarihan. Kayo ay isa sa mga pangunahing tauhan sa kwento ng pagkain ng bansa. Sabi nga ni Secretary Kiko Laurel, kumbaga sa Army, pag walang extension workers ang Department of Agriculture tulad ng hanggang sa grassroots, para siyang isang army na walang foot soldiers. Kaya paano may papanalo ika nga ang pakikipaglaban para sa agrikultura kung walang mga infantry o foot soldiers. Kasama ng mga magsasaka at mangingisda, siyempre sila ang main character. Isa sa gusto kong probisyon ng panukalang farmer-to-farmer knowledge sharing. Kinikilala nito ang kaalaman, karanasan at pamumuno ng ating maliliit na magsasaka at mangingisda. Kaya tinuturong nating silang partner o co-teacher. Sa kabuuan, sa pagpapatupad ng batas, nakalaan agad ang 10 bilyong pisong halaga, isang matibay na panimulang puhunan para sa sistematikong pagpapaunlad ng pagsasaka at pangingisda sa bansa. Puhunan para sa pagtaas ng kita kapag magkaroon ng maalam na patnubay tungkol sa binhi, kasanayan sa post-harvest issues at kung ano pang mga usapin. Dahil kapag natulungan mag-organisa ng mga kooperatiba, ang naturang mga basic agribusiness at value-adding na ikonekta sa mga programa tulad ng sagip-saka at maging sa mga matitinong traders. Bubuti ang farm gate prices, tataas ang kita ng ating mga magsasaka at mga nagpapakain sa atin. Sa puhunan din ito para sa pang-angkop sa climate change. Puhunan din ito. Kapag naturuan ng climate smart agriculture technologies through extension services down to the grassroots, tamang paggamit ng insurance at iba pa, bababa na ang pagkalugi tuwing bagyo, baha, pagkapeste at pagtuyot. Puhunan ito para sa sistematikong pagpapalago ng sistema ng pagkain. Kapag nabuo at napatupad ang isang 10-year roadmap na malakas ang ugnayan sa mga state universities and colleges, LGUs at maging sa private sector, mawawala na ang pagkawatak-watak at tutungo na sa sistemang tutok at maayos. Isasama natin ang CHED dahil 26,000 graduates ng agriculture every year, Mr. President. At kinakailangan matap ito dahil every year din sa senior year ng ating mga OJT, required din silang pumunta sa mga magsakahan. Kaya pag may extension services na bureau, makikipag-ugnayan sa CHED, matatap natin ang ating 26,000 graduates and 26,000 plus mga estudyante na tutulong sa extension workers. Matututukan na ang pangangailangan at suporta ng ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda. Kaya Mr. President, ito po ay isa pang structural reform sa Department of Agriculture na kinakailangan nating ayusin. In the end, Mr. President, when I was Food Security Secretary in 2014 and 2015, the country was importing $10 billion worth of agriculture products. Today, 10 years later, we are importing double, $20 billion worth of agriculture products. It is not right. We have to correct, Mr. President, the broken system of agriculture and fisheries in the country. Mahirap pa rin ang ating mga magsasaka. Baon pa sa utang. Puro import pa ang nangyayari sa ating pagkain. Kaya these twin structures, Mr. President, these twin measures that will restructure the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, Mr. President, I believe is the way forward. With the support of our colleagues and its swift passage, we are on the road to addressing the challenges of agriculture modernization and fisheries modernization in the country. Maraming salamat, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Pangilinan. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. To allow our colleagues to study the measure, further move to suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of Senate Bill 1991 under Committee Report Number 53 is suspended.
Mr. President, I move to transfer calendar of ordinary business to special order. Senate Bill number 70 under Committee Report number 55. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
Thank you, Mr. President. To co-sponsor the measure, we'd like to recognize Senator Rodante. Oh, my apologies, Mr. President. I withdraw that motion and move for the reference of business.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, approved.
Reference of business. Message from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that 16 March 2026 is passed the following House Bill, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House Bill number 1006 titled An Act Establishing an Inspection Office of the Maritime Industry Authority in the Municipality of Nasipit, Province of Agusan del Norte, and appropriating funds therefore.
Referred to the Committee on Public Service and Finance.
3492, Anak, increasing the bed capacity of the Cotabato Regional and Medical Center in the city of Cotabato, Province of Maguindanao del Norte, from 600 to 1,000 beds and appropriating funds therefore.
Referred.
8239, Anak, establishing the Municipality of Moncayo, Province of Davao de Oro, a multi-specialty general hospital to be known as the Davao de Oro Multi-Specialty Hospital and appropriating funds therefore. And 8342, Anak, renaming the Soc Sargent General Hospital in the Municipality of Sorala, Province of South Cotabato, to Soc Sargent Regional and Medical Center, increasing its bed capacity from 75 to 1,500 beds, upgrading its professional health care services and facilities, authorizing the increase of its medical personnel and appropriating funds therefore.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
8360, Anak, mandating government agencies and local government units to allocate at least 25% of their budget for furniture and fixtures for products made of certified engineered bamboo and other bamboo-based commodities.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
8463, anak establishing a Maritime Industry Authority Regional Office in Balanga City, Province of Bataan, and appropriating funds therefore.
Referred to the Committees on Public Services and Finance.
8464, anak abolishing the travel tax.
Referred to the Committees on Ways and Means, Tourism and Finance.
8468, anak adopting and regulating the use of digital payment systems for government financial transactions and all merchants.
Referred to the Committees on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies and Finance.
8470, anak upgrading the Butuan Medical Center in the city of Butuan, Province of Agusan del Norte, into a Level 3 hospital to be known as the Butuan General Hospital and appropriating funds therefore. 8471, anak establishing in the Municipal of Ipil, Province of Zamboanga, Sibugay, a Level 3 General Hospital to be known as the Zamboanga Sibugay Medical Center and appropriating funds therefore. 8472, anak upgrading the Bukidnon Provincial Hospital in the municipality of Maramag, Province of Bukidnon, into Level 3 General Hospital to be known as the Bukidnon General Hospital and appropriating funds therefore. 8473, anak establishing the municipality of Malangas, Province of Zamboanga, Sibugay, a Level 3 General Hospital to be known as the Malangas Medical Center and appropriating funds therefore. 8474, anak upgrading the Rojas Memorial Provincial Hospital in Barangay Lanot, City of Rojas, Province of Capiz, into Level 3 General Hospital to be known as the Capiz Medical Center and appropriating funds therefore. And House Bill numbers 8475, anak establishing in the municipality of Pontevedra, Province of Capiz, a Level 3 General Hospital to be known as the Capiz General Hospital and appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
8476, anak expanding the coverage of tertiary education subsidy, amending for the purpose of Public Number 10931, otherwise known as the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, and putting funds therefore. 8477, anak institutionalizing the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program, integrating the Bagong Pilipinas Merit Scholarship Program into national framework to support top-performing students, and putting funds therefore.
To the Committees on Higher, Technical, and Vocational Education and Finance.
Resolutions. Resolution number 349, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in the legislation on the effects of undertaking of government agencies to ensure prudent fiscal management in the implementation of Republic Number 12314, the 2020 General Operations Act in light of the Middle East conflict, by Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Finance.
350, resolution creating an ad hoc committee to proactively address the issues and challenges that the country is facing as a result of, in relation to the ongoing conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran, that significantly impacted the oil-producing countries in the Middle East, within the view of establishing a national consensus for a clear, coordinated, and comprehensive contingency plan to address the socioeconomic crisis and prevent stagnation of the economy, by Senator Soto III, Zubiri, and Cayetano AP.
Committee on Rules.
Committee reports. Committee report number 54, prepared and submitted by the Committee on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement on Senate Bill number 1992 with Senator Estrada and Escudero as authors thereof titled, Anak Enhancing the Capacity of Government to Implement Socialized Housing Projects by Improving and Nationalizing Land Acquisition and Utilization, amending for the purpose certain provisions for Republic number 7279, otherwise known as the Urban Development and Housing Act of 1992, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Bill number 934 by Senator Escudero.
The calendar for ordinary business.
55, submitted jointly by the Committees on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, and Justice and Human Rights on Senate Bill number 70, introduced by Senator Marcoleta, titled, An Act Exempting the Underprivileged and Homeless from the Required Payment of Supersedious Bond to Perfect an Appeal in relation to ejectment cases filed against them, amending for the purpose Republic number 7279, otherwise known as the Urban Development Housing Act, recommending its approval with amendments by Senator Escudero.
Calendar for ordinary business. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, with that, I move to transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to special order, Senate Bill number 70 under Committee Report number 55.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, Senate Bill number 70. So transferred. Secretary will please read the title of the measure.
An act exempting the underprivileged and homeless from the required payment of subsidious bond to perfect an appeal in relation to ejectment cases filed against them, amending for the purpose Republic number 7279, otherwise known as the Urban Development Housing Act.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we recognize to co-sponsor the measure, Senator Rodante Marcoleta.
Is there an objection? Senator Rodante Marcoleta is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to co-sponsor Senate Bill number 70 under Committee Report number 55, a measure that seeks to uphold one of the most fundamental principles of justice, that access to courts must not depend on one's capacity to pay, but on the merits of one's cause. First of all, Mr. President, I'd like to thank the sponsor, Senator Chis Escudero, whose sponsorship speech he wishes to be inserted into the records, for supporting and sponsoring this bill. This measure addresses a harsh and often overlooked reality faced by our most vulnerable sectors, the underprivileged and the homeless, when they are subjected to ejectment proceedings. Thus, the bill I authored seeks to exempt the underprivileged and the homeless from the required payment of supersedeas bond in perfecting appeal in relation to ejectment cases filed against them. For families already struggling to survive, for individuals with no stable sources of income, and for the homeless with no means at all, the requirement to post a supersedeas bond becomes an insurmountable barrier, which is not merely a procedural requirement, but a denial of the right to appeal. Mr. President, in most cases, families facing eviction are unable to pursue legitimate remedies because they cannot afford to pay the bond required to stay the execution of judgment while their appeal is pending. This measure seeks to correct that injustice. This is a bill I have been pushing since my time as a member of the House of Representatives, grounded in the belief that our legal system must be responsible to the realities faced by most vulnerable sectors of our society. And I am truly glad to see this measure finally come to fruition. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. Majority Leader.
Yes, to allow our colleagues to study the measure, Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of the same.
So suspended.
Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to take up proposed Senate Resolution number 350. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Proposed Senate Resolution number 350 is in order.
May we ask the Secretary to read the title of the resolution?
Secretary is directed to read the title of the measure.
Resolution creating an ad hoc committee to proactively address the
Marami
issues
tayo.
and challenges that the country is facing as a result of in relation to the ongoing conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran that significantly impacted the oil-producing countries in the Middle East. Within the view, establish a national consensus of clear, coordinated, and comprehensive contingency plan to address the socio-economic crisis and prevent stagflation of the economy.
Mr. President, on the part of the minority, we move to recognize to co-sponsor the said measure no other than Senator Rodante Marcoleta, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? Senator Rodante Marcoleta is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to co-sponsor Senate Resolution number 350, creating an ad hoc committee to be known as Proactive Response and Oversight for Timely and Effective Crisis Strategy, or PROTEC. A timely and necessary measure to proactively address the issues and challenges we face as a result of and in relation to the ongoing conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran. This resolution is anchored on a simple yet urgent principle: preparedness over reaction. At a time when global tensions are escalating and uncertainties ripple across regions, we are reminded that the Philippines, although geographically distant, is by no means insulated from the social and economic impacts of international conflicts. As the geopolitical tensions appear to have no end yet in sight, we cannot just sit by and watch while their far-reaching consequences drag out, affecting our nation and our citizens in the process. The volatility in the Middle East, particularly in oil-producing countries, poses a direct threat to our energy security, price stability, and overall economic resilience. We cannot solely rely and wait for the plans of the executive. Rising fuel prices, supply chain disruptions, and inflationary pressures will inevitably affect transportation, food security, employment, and the daily lives of our people, especially the most vulnerable. And it is precisely during these unprecedented times that the Senate must stand united and enact all efforts to help our kababayans weather this developing international crisis. As I emphasized in Resolution number 319, which this representation filed to call for an inquiry as to the status, safety, and welfare of Filipinos in the affected region, proactive coordination, preparedness, and a whole-of-government approach is indispensable. The complexity of the crisis demands just that, not only in response to the needs of Filipinos overseas, but in safeguarding our national stability as a whole. This august chamber should serve as a platform where these efforts can be harmonized, strengthened, and guided by a clear and unified national direction. By creating this ad hoc committee, we can ensure to adopt a whole-of-government and a whole-of-nation approach, one that is coordinated, data-driven, and forward-looking. This body will allow the Senate to exercise its oversight function effectively, ensuring that contingency measures are not only in place, but are responsive, comprehensive, and inclusive. With this, I wish to manifest my intent to co-author the resolution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And on the part of the majority, if I may be allowed to just say a few words, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we fully support proposed Senate Resolution number 350. I think in this time of need and emergency situation, especially in the Middle East, we need to move proactively on how we can plan our actions in the near future, especially with prices of fuel. The pump prices today, yesterday I saw 102 pesos for diesel, 100 pesos for gasoline, or 97 pesos for gasoline, and no end in sight in the war of the Middle East. Today we had the discussions inside the lounge about biofuels and coming up with, I'd say, renewable fuels or sustainable fuels, which we have in abundance if we actually just focused on this. And what saddens me, Mr. President, is that how many years ago have we passed, for example, the biofuels law? 2004, I sponsored it in the House of Representatives. I passed it in the House of Representatives, Mr. President. I was a principal author and sponsor of that measure. And yet, how many biofuels plants have we created? Only about less than 12, I think 12 or 13, if I'm not mistaken, 12 or 13. And yet we're only producing 60% of our blends in the Philippines for E10, ethanol 10% blend in gasoline. In other countries, Mr. President, E85 na in Brazil. Yung mga provinces that produce sugarcane, they run on 85% ethanol, no longer fuel or gasoline from the Middle East. So they are not bound to this problem that we're having in the Middle East. They are not affected. They are, in other words, protected from all these spikes on fuel from fossil fuels, Mr. President. Same goes for India, for Thailand, and in Malaysia, Indonesia, it's biodiesel for them. They're producing, because of their palm oil, biodiesel. In the Philippines, we have only cocoa methyl ester, which is from coconuts, and the sugar cane that we're producing. I'm so sad that we cannot produce enough of these biofuels to be just like these countries that I mentioned earlier. And even our push for EVs. Dati po, Mr. President, pag sinabi mo electric vehicle, parang wala pa rin. Tinanggal na nga natin yung taxes, mas mura yung electric vehicle. Pero wala pa rin gustong lumipat sa e-vehicles. Ngayon, na may crisis na, 100 pesos na ang diesel at ang gasolina, naghahanap na yung lahat ng tao ng EV. Ubus na po yung EV, wala nang electric vehicles na mabibili sa market. Kaya, Mr. President, I think we really need to proactively address the issues. I mentioned earlier also the caucus China, because almost all the cars in China are EVs and electric motorcycles. Wala din silang shocks, fuel shocks. Their prices, they don't care what the prices are because they don't use fuel in their vehicles and in their motorcycles. Tayo po, itong pangyayari sa Middle East is another eye-opener for us. We are not prepared. We are not ready. for any of these developments that are happening in the Middle East. We are caught by surprise once again when we have so many good pieces of legislation. We passed the EV law, the biofuels law, we passed the Renewable Energy Act, and yet nangungulelat pa rin tayo po dito sa implementation nito mga alternative energy and fuel that the country sorely needs. So, Mr. President, I laud the proponents of this measure, and that, of course, with the permission of the body, later on, I will move for its adoption. So, thank you very much, Mr. President, for this.
Thank you, Senator Subiri.
Mr. President, and also, just a reminder, this will also give additional work to the chairman of this ad hoc committee, which is Senator Gatchalian, who is here listening intently, because he will be the ad hoc chairman. And hopefully when we adopt this, Mr. President, he can right away call for hearings and meetings to allow the chamber to help come up with solutions on these problems. So thank you again, Mr. President. For
What is the pleasure of Senator Villanueva?
Yes, I think he likes to also co-sponsor the measure, Mr. President.
Senator, is there an objection? Hearing none, Senator Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished Majority Leader. Mr. President and esteemed colleagues, a blessed afternoon. It is my honor and privilege to co-sponsor proposed Senate Resolution number 350, proposing to establish an ad hoc Senate committee called Proactive Response and Oversight for Timely and Effective Crisis Strategy, or PROTECT Committee. We extend our sincere gratitude and commendation to the leadership of the Senate, Senate President Tito Soto, Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri, and Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano for introducing this very timely and important measure. We also would like to thank our colleagues for making this representation a co-author of this resolution. At first glance, Mr. President, this measure speaks of geopolitics, of conflict in faraway regions, and of disruptions in global energy markets. But at its core, this is not merely about foreign affairs or policy coordination. Ginoong Pangulo, tungkol po ito sa araw-araw na buhay ni Juan de la Cruz. Ito po ay tungkol sa jeepney driver na araw-araw ay kinakabahan sa patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng diesel. Tungkol po ito sa mga mamimili at maliliit na negosyante na napipilitang magtaas ng presyo upang makasabay sa gastos. At higit po sa lahat, tungkol po ito sa pamilyang Pilipino na pilit pinagkakasya ang kita sa gitna ng patuloy na pagtaas ng mga bilihin. The ongoing conflict has already caused global oil prices to surge, and warnings of even steeper increases loom. Kapag tumataas po ang presyo ng langis, tumataas din ang presyo ng pamasahe, presyo ng pagkain, presyo ng kuryente. At ang pinakaapektado, siyempre, ang karaniwang Pilipino. This is where the importance of this resolution becomes clear. The creation of the PROTECT Committee is not only an institutional response, but a commitment to foresight, coordination, and accountability. It ensures that we are not reacting too late. Instead, it enables us to anticipate, to prepare, and to act decisively. More importantly, it gives the Filipino people something they deserve in times of uncertainty. Assurance, Mr. President. Mr. President, assurance that their government is prepared. Assurance that their welfare is being protected. Mr. President, the risk of stagflation is not just an economic concept. It is a real threat to Filipino households. Kapag sabay po na tumaas ang presyo at bumagal ang ekonomiya, ang unang naapektuhan ay ang trabaho, ang kita, ang kabuhayan at kinabukasan ng ating mga kababayan. We believe that this move of the Senate gives us a fighting chance to prevent that outcome. It enables a whole of government and whole of nation approach, bringing together agencies, stakeholders, and communities to respond in a unified and strategic manner. For these reasons, Mr. President, we respectfully express our full support for this measure and urge its swift adoption. Dahil sa huli, Ginoong Pangulo, ang tunay na sukatan ng anumang polisiya ay kung paano nito napapabuti ang buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, at pagpalain po tayong lahat ng ating Panginoong Diyos.
Thank you, Senator Joel. Majority Leader. Senator Robin Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pinunong mayorya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mga kapwa ko, Senador, ako po ay tumitindig ngayong araw upang makiisa sa resolusyong inihain ni na Senate President Vicente Soto III, Majority Floor Leader Senador Juan Miguel Zubiri, at Minority Leader Senador Alan Peter Cayetano, na naglalayong siyasatin ang implementasyon ng National Contingency Plan, pag-isahin ang pagsisikap ng iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno sa isang mekanismong organisado at magkakaroon ng whole of government approach sa mga banta ng seguridad sa ating bansa. Ang panukalang ito ay ang legal at moral na obligasyon ng Senado upang protektahan ang ating bansa mula sa nakaambang krisis pang-ekonomiya na dulot ng tensyon sa gitnang silangan. Noong ika-28 ng Pebrero, 2026, inulunsad ng Estados Unidos at Israel ang kanilang operasyon laban sa Iran. Ayon sa balita, ang opensibang ito ay naglalayong buwagin ang mga pasilidad ng Iran at mabago ang rehimen ng politika ng Iran. Dahil sa pag-ataking ito, naging mabilis ang ganti ng Iranian Armed Forces laban sa mga base militar, paliparan at lalo na sa mga oil refineries sa rehiyon. Sa kasalukuyan, ayon sa ulat ng International Energy Agency ngayong Marso 2026, nararanasan ng mundo ang pinakamalaking pagkagambala sa supply ng langis sa kasaysayan, ang pagsasara ng Strait of Hormuz, kung saan dumadaan ang humigit kumulang na 20% ng pandaigdigang supply ng langis at liquefied natural gas, ay isang direktang atake sa katatagan ng ating ekonomiya. Hindi naman natin maaaring baliwalain ang babala na ang presyo ng krudo ay maaaring umabot sa $200 bawat bariles. Dahil para sa Pilipinas, ito po ay nangangahulugan ng stagflation, ang mapanganib na kombinasyon ng matamlay na paglago ng ekonomiya, mataas na kawalan ng trabaho, at mabilis na pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin. Pangalawa, panganib sa OFWs, ang kaligtasan ng milyong-milyong Pilipino sa Middle East, at ang daloy ng kanilang remittances na bumubuhay sa ating bansa. Krisis sa pagkain at enerhiya, ang mabilis na pagtaas ng gastos sa transportasyon na tiyak na magpapalala sa malnutrisyon at kahirapan sa mga vulnerable sektor. Dapat ay agaran ng ating aksyon ang Proactive Response and Oversight for Timely and Effective Crisis Strategy Committee o PROTEC ay dapat tiyakin na ang ating bansa ay hindi lamang naghihintay sa krisis, kundi mayroong malinaw na strategy upang mapanatili ang seguridad sa pagkain, energy at trabaho. Ginoong Pangulo, ang 1987 Constitution ay malinaw. Ang Estado ay may tungkuling protektahan ang buhay, kalayaan at kabuhayan ng mamamayan. Hindi nating maaring pabayaan ng ating bayan ay maipit sa krisis na hindi natin pinaghandaan. Kaya naman buong puso kong sinusuportahan ang pagpasa ng resolusyong ito at ipahayag ang aking mithiin na maging kapwa may akda ng nasabing panukala. Ang resolusyong ito ay ang unang hakbang upang matiyak na ang Pilipinas ay mananatiling matatag sa gitna ng unos ng pandaigdigang geopolitika. Naway gabayan tayo ng may kapal sa ating mga desisyon. Naway manaig ang kapayapaan at naway lagi nating unahin ang kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino, ang hindi sumama sa kahit na sinong naghahanap ng gera, kundi maging independent. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Oben Padilla, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with that, I move to adopt Senate Resolution number 350. So moved.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, Senate Resolution number 350 is hereby adopted.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We can already...
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is
Yes, Senator Sherwin
requesting
Gatchalian.
to have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Una-una sa lahat, nagpapasalamat po ako sa tiwala at kumpiyansa na ibinigay po ng ating Senado at nakita ko po sa resolution na tayo po itinalaga bilang head or chairperson nitong ad hoc committee. At kasama sa ating mga kababayan, ito pong nakikita ho natin ay hindi po kasalanan ng ating Pangulo, President Bongbong Marcos, hindi po kasalanan ni Vice President Sara Duterte, hindi po kasalanan ng Senado, hindi po kasalanan ng Kongreso. Ito pong nangyari ay wala po sa kontrol natin lahat. Ito po ay isang conflict na nangyayari po sa labas ng Pilipinas, pero ang epekto ay ramdam na ramdam natin dito. Ang nakikita ho natin, itong epekto ay initial pa lang. No? Ito ay paumpisa pa lang. Dahil kung ito po ay magtuloy-tuloy, yung mga nabanggit po ni Senator Robin, ni Senator Joel Villanueva, ito po ay kakalat na sa ating ekonomiya. Makikita natin, tataas po ang presyo ng pagkain, tataas po ang presyo ng bilihin. At kung matatandaan ho natin, last 2025, bumagal rin po yung ating ekonomiya. So pumapasok ho tayo sa isang senaryo na mabagal na po ang paglago ng ating ekonomiya. Kaya posible rin po yung tinatawag na stagflation, kung saan mabagal po ang paglago ng ekonomiya pero mataas naman ang pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin. Kaya nagpapasalamat po ako sa mga may akda nitong resolution dahil ang pinakamahalagang operative word sa resolution ay proactive. Mapag-usapan natin ito, makita natin yung iba't ibang elemento nitong krisis na tingin ko pwede mangyari dahil pwede itong kumalat sa ekonomiya, pwedeng kumalat to sa presyo ng bilihin at eventually, kung ito pa ay humaba, pwede rin itong kumalat sa unemployment dahil nakita na ho natin nung January ay tumaas po yung ating unemployment figures. Kaya mga kasama, itong being proactive ay isang napakaganda pong hakbang na gagawin ng Senado. Yung mga recommendations ho natin ay napakaganda rin po. Ang akin ninanais, sinuhope ko, hindi ho natin magamit yung recommendation at solution dahil sana ay bumalik na ho sa normal. Pero kung hindi po ito bumalik na normal, nakahanda ho tayo kung ano po yung dapat gawin ho natin. Kaya nagpapasalamat po ako muli sa ating mga kasamahan sa tiwala at kumpiyansa at kakailangan ho natin ang tulong ng bawat isa para po malampasan ho natin itong krisis na hinaharap po natin. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Gatchalian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, also for the record, Senator Raffy Tulfo and Senator Jigo Estrada would like to be made co-authors and their speeches to be inserted for the record, Mr. President.
An objection, hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, with the conformity of the body, I move that we adopt House Concurrent Resolution number 12 as an amendment to the Senate Concurrent Resolution number 8 adopted last February 2, 2026. These are concurrent resolutions on the National Education and Workforce Development Plan. I so move.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, approved.
For what? Let's go home. Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 57th Session Tuesday, March 17, 2026, and consider the same as approved.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, May 4, 2026.
Is there any objection? There being none, the session is adjourned until 3
Mr.
o'clock
President,
in the
there's
afternoon.
before you make that motion, there's a question from
Senator Rizal de Veros.
Salamat, Mr. President. Not an objection, just an inquiry. I thought that we were going to interpolate the amendment to the biofuels law. We are no longer,
We did
Mr.
not tackle it today.
President. We are not tackling it today.
Yeah, we
All
didn't
right.
tackle it today.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Thank
So
you.
I move to adjourn, Mr. President.
Continue ko lang. Is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Monday, May 4, 2026. Happy Easter to everyone.